Dear students, in this video we are going to discuss the detailed solution of NTSC Stage 2 2019-20 STAT paper. Now starting with the very first subject, that is science. Now in this, the question from question 1 to 13 is of biology. So let's begin with the very first question, and what does it states? So question number 1 states, a taxonomist during his voyage found a solitary marine animal. Is it clear? So a taxonomist has found a solitary marine animal. Now this animal has spines on skin which is composed of what? That is calcium carbonate. And its coelom was made of pouches, and these pouches are pinched off from what? That is endoderm. Now we need to assign this specimen to the most appropriate phylum. Clear? So the taxonomist has found certain observation regarding a marine animal, that is the animal is marine, plus it has spines on the skin, and these spines are composed of calcium carbonate. Also, it has a coelom which is made of what? Pouches, which is being pinched off from the endoderm. So this coelom is what? What type of coelom is this? That is enterocoelom. Clear? So that means this organism is an enterocoelomic. Done? So if I find out that out of these 4 options, which phylum has these characteristics? So these characteristics belongs to which phylum? That is Echinodermata. So see here, echino means what? That is spiny. Clear? Derm means what? That is skin. And ata means what? That is to have. So the organisms have spiny skin, and these spines are composed of calcium carbonate. Plus echinoderms are exclusively marine animals. Clear? So echinoderms includes those which are exclusively marine, which have spines on the skin, and their coelom is made of pouches which is being pinched off from endoderm. That is, these are enterocoelomic organisms. Is it clear? So the correct answer to question number 1 is what? That is option 4. The phylum is Echinodermata. Clear? Now, moving on to the next question. Question number 2 states what? That an individual with genotype this. So, one of the parent genotype is mentioned here, and this genotype is being crossed with another individual with the genotype this. Clear? So, the parental genotype has been mentioned. Assuming Mendelian pattern of inheritance, predict the proportion of this. Now we need to find out the probability of this, the proportion of this among the progeny. That is, what progeny will have, what number of progeny we are going to have this type of genotype from this cross. So first of all, we are going to write down the genotype of both the parents. Is it clear? So let's write it down. Now we have written the genotype of both the parents. Now allele of both the parents should cross independently. How? So see here, first of all we are going to multiply these alleles. Is it clear? So see here, that is, this is being crossed with the parent of another. Done. And we need to find out the proportion of this genotype among the progeny. Clear? Understood? So what will be the probability of this allele if this and this will be crossed? That means small a is what will be the probability of small a in this cross? That is 1 by 4. Clear? Understood? Now moving on to the next allele, that is, so this we have taken from this parent and this we have taken from this parent. Now if we will cross these two, what will be the probability of this allele? Clear? So see here, of this gene, that is 2 by 4. Moving on to the next allele, so this will be what? Now, what will be the probability of this gene? So let's count down. That will be 1 by 4. Moving on to the next allele, that is, so what will be the probability of this gene now? That is, it will be what? That is 2 by 4. Clear? And the last allele, that is capital E small e, should be crossed with capital E small e. Clear? So what we have done, we have taken the alleles of from both the parents. Now individual alleles will be crossed independently. Is it clear? So we have taken this, and what will be the probability of this allele? So the probability of this allele will be what? That is 1 by 4. Now we are going to cross all these probability. We're going to multiply all these probability. That means what? That is 1 by 4. Is it clear? Into 2 by 4 into 1 by 4 into 2 by 4 into 1 by 4. And this will be what? That is 1 by 256. Is it clear? So what will be the answer? That is 1 by 256. Clear? That means if we are going to multiply this also, so AA, BB, sorry, small a, small b, small c, small c, small c, small d, small d, small e is equals to what? That is the probability of this genotype among the progeny of this cross will be what? That is 1 by 256. So the correct answer out of these 4 options will be what? That is option number 4. Is it clear? So this is how you're going to solve the question. Done. Now moving on to the next question, that is question number 3. Which one of the 4 methods of propagation? So here 4 methods of propagation have been given to us is likely to lead to maximum variation in DNA sequence through generation. Now as you know that through sexual reproduction there is more probability or there is maximum number of variation in the DNA sequence, and these variations are being passed on from one generation to another because these variations are coming in what? That is in the DNA. Is it clear? So we just need to find out that out of these 4, which one is having the sexual reproduction. So this is what? That is option number 3. So reproduction in human beings. So human being performs sexual reproduction which involves 2 parents, and this leads to a maximum number of variation in the DNA sequence and will be passed on from one generation to another. So the correct answer to question number 3 is what? That is option 3. Clear? Now moving on to the next question. A case of biomagnification was being studied. A laboratory received equal quantities of 3 samples M, N and O. The level of pesticides found in these samples are as follows. M has 1 milligram of pesticide, N has 0.2 milligram, O has 3 milligram. Is it clear? The samples M, N and O respectively could be what? So here this question belongs to what? That is biomagnification. And what do you mean by biomagnification? That with the increasing trophic level, the concentration of harmful non-biodegradable chemicals will increase. Is it clear? That what I am saying, that with an increasing trophic level in a food chain, the concentration of harmful non-biodegradable chemicals will increase. That means if the organism is at higher trophic level, it would have the maximum concentration of non-biodegradable chemicals. Is it clear? And the organism who is going to have at the lower trophic level is going to have the least concentration of non-biodegradable chemicals. Is it clear? Understood? Now see, so here we have mentioned that M has 1 milligram, N has 0.2 milligram and O has 3 milligram. Now out of these 3 samples, which sample has the maximum concentration of pesticide? That is O. This means O belongs to higher trophic level. So let's write it down here. So this is O, which has the highest concentration of pesticide, because these pesticides get accumulated in the tissue. So with an increasing trophic level, the concentration of non-biodegradable substance will increase. Clear? Now out of these 3, which one has the least? That is N, 0.2 milligram. That means N belongs to the lowest trophic level. And finally, what? That is M will be belonging to this second trophic level. Is it clear? Understood? Now, here we have given the example of 3 organisms: grass, grasshopper and adipose tissue of birds. Now, out of these 3 organisms, which is going to be in this higher trophic level? That is birds. Bird is going to be at the higher trophic level. And if I talk about the very first trophic level, so in a food chain, first trophic level belongs to what? That is producers. Is it clear? So it will automatically will be what? That is grass. Is it clear? So here grass will be present. Clear? And finally, grasshopper will be what? At the trophic level second. So through this we have automatically concluded the answer, that is grass is N. Clear? So the N sample has been taken from grass, M sample has been taken from grasshopper, and O, which has the highest concentration of pesticide, is at what organism? Taken from which organism? That is birds. Is it clear? So grass is what? That is N. Is it clear? O is bird and M is grasshopper. So according to this, the correct option is what? That is option 2. So have you understood? Moving on to the next question. Illustration of a pyramid of number of an aquatic ecosystem is given. So here the pyramid of number of an aquatic ecosystem is given, and the pyramid of energy for the same ecosystem would be. Now we need to find out the pyramid of energy. So the pyramid of energy is upright according to the 10% law. Clear? What will be the pyramid of energy? That is, it will be what? Upright. Is it clear? Understood? According to which law? According to 10% law. That is, with the increasing trophic level, the availability of energy will decrease. Clear? Only 10% of the energy will be available to the next trophic level. So according to this concept, what will be the answer? That is option number 4. Is it clear? That is, see here. Understood? So at the first trophic level, the amount of energy available will be high, and at the higher trophic level, with increasing trophic level, the amount of energy will decrease. Clear? Only 10% of energy will be available at each trophic level, because of which the pyramid of energy will be upright. Clear, student? Now moving on to the next question, that is question number 6. Which of the following traits would an evolutionary biologist consider to understand the divergent evolution process? Now what do you mean by divergent evolution? In divergent evolution, two or more distinct species who share a common ancestors from which they have diverged. Is it clear? So in what is happening in divergent evolution, that is two or more distinct species who share a common ancestors from which they have diverged. Is it clear? And this includes homologous organs. That is, homologous organs mean what? That is, organs have similar structures but perform different functions. That is, their structure is similar, their origin is similar, but they have been modified to perform different functions. So according to this concept, the correct option out of this 4 will be what? That is option number 4. Human arm, seal, forelimb and wing of bird. So all these structures, that is the human arm structure, the forelimb of seal and wing of a bird, they share or they have a similar structure of organ. Clear? But all these organs are performing different functions. For example, if we talk about human arm, it helps in grasping. If we talk about seal, forelimb, so it helps in the what? That is paddling, and wing of a bird, that helps in flying. So they have similar structure. Clear? Similar bony structure, but these structures has been modified to perform different functions. Is it clear? Which shows what? That is homologous organ, which comes under what? That is divergent evolution. That is, two or more distinct species share common ancestors from which they have diverged. Is it clear? Now moving on to the next question, that is question number 7. What it states: in adjacent agricultural land of nearly equal dimensions, two farmers, A and B, had cultivated crops of their choice and observed standard practice. So there are two farmers, that is farmer A and B, and they have cultivated crops of their choice. Now a pathogen attacked the crops and destroyed it in the land belonging to farmer A. So let's say this is the farmer A land, is it clear? And this one is farmer B land. Now the pathogen, P stands for here what? That is pathogen. Now this pathogen has attacked what? The land of farmer A, and it has completely destroyed the land of the crops of farmer A. So here it is mentioned, a pathogen attacked the crops and destroyed it in the land belonging to farmer A, as a result of which he suffered complete loss. So complete, the whole of the crop was being destroyed by which pathogen? That is this pathogen. Now the same pathogen has attacked the adjacent land, that is the same pathogen has attacked the land of farmer B. Is it clear? He was able to earn some money by selling the yield. Now whole of the land wasn't destroyed by this pathogen. So what we have concluded, that when this pathogen has attacked the land of farmer A, whole of the crop was destroyed. But when this pathogen has attacked this land which belongs to farmer B, only half of the or only some of the crops were destroyed. Clear? Rest of the were saved. Is it clear? Now why is this so? So first of all, pathogens are crop specific. Is it clear? So both the farmers must have sown similar type of crop. That is why pathogen was able to destroy this land also and this land also. Is it clear? But pathogen was unable to destroy farmer B land completely because he must have cultivated different types of crop, because of which the pathogen was able to destroy only that type of crop which it feeds on. Clear? And the remaining crops were saved. Is it clear? And if we talk about farmer A, he must have sown similar type of crop, only one type of crop. That is why pathogen A has completely destroyed the land of farmer A. Whereas when he attacked to the farmer B land, he found this similar type of crop which was sown in the farmer A land, but there were other different types of crops also available in the farmer B land. Clear? Because of which that crops were saved. So only those crops were harmed by the pathogen which were similar, which were common in both farmer A land and farmer B land. So this concludes what? That is, farmer A, clear, farmer A must have cultivated only one crop, whereas farmer B must have cultivated two crops. Is it clear? If he would have also sown one type of crop, then the complete land would have been destroyed. But because farmer B has cultivated two different types of crop, and the only crop which was common with the farmer A land, only that crop was destroyed by pathogens. So pathogens are, first of all, very important thing, that these are crop specific. So when he found the common crop in both farmer A and farmer B land, it has destroyed it. Now because farmer B has also cultivated different types of crop, so those different crops were saved which were not common or which were not found in farmer A land. Is it clear? So keep this thing in mind. So farmer A must have sown what? Similar type of crop, but farmer B hasn't sown similar type of crop, he has sown different, he must have cultivated different types of crop, because of which some of the crops were saved. Is it clear? And he had earned money. Is it clear? So this is the answer to question number 7. So question number 7 answer is what? That is 1. Clear, student?